The JLR interview series.
Okay, so it's 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 2nd of October 2018, doing another interview for Jazz London Radio, and this time I got Shirley Smart with us. Shirley is a cello player and has done some great work. For listeners who've been around for a while, you might recall I interviewed her 2 years ago as well. So first of all, how are you this evening, Shirley?
Very well, thanks, Laurie. It's nice to see you again.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, so we're at the City University here today. Shirley does a lot of teaching. She teaches jazz and improvisation at this institution, but you're also at the Royal College of Music Junior Department, so you do some work there as well.
Yeah, I do. I teach a lot of improvisation again there too. So yeah, it's good fun.
When you say junior department, are we talking about minors or?
It's the Saturday school before they go to senior college. So it's basically between 8 and 18.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So any age group between 8 and 18.
Yeah.
Okay, that's marvelous. So basically, I mean, I'm here today to chat to you about, you got a new album, which sounds quite old school, but I like it. It's the CD. You got a new album coming out, and now it's called Long Story Short.
Yes, it is. Yes,
and it's on 33 Jazz Records.
Yep.
Now, the last time I interviewed you were on 2 other records, but apparently it's demised.
It's not demised exactly. I think the label boss just decided that she wanted to move on and do some other things, so I moved to 33 for this one.
Okay. Your last release was Via Maurice, which was quite a large ensemble, but this one, is it a trio?
This one, yeah, it's basically a trio. It's myself on cello, obviously, John Crawford on piano, great keys player, and Demi Garcia-Sabat on drums and percussion. So that's kind of the core trio. Mm-hmm. And then we had also quite a few guests on this one. So I had Orphy Robinson came and played vibraphone on a couple of tracks.
Yeah.
Nikki Isles played accordion. Nikki's obviously very, very well known as a pianist, but she's also happens to be a wicked accordion player. Mm-hmm. So she played accordion on a couple of tracks. And Nicholas Meyer, a great guitar player, played on 2 or 3, 4 or 5 tracks actually. I think quite a few.
So I mean it's a trio, but still there's quite a lot of guests on and stuff. Okay, and I've listened to a few of the tracks and they sound really sort of fabulous. Just wanted to ask, was there a particular concept for this new album?
I think I wanted to bring kind of all the different things that I do together. I had, as you spoke before, we talked about Via Maurice, my last album with Melange, and that very much drew on North African, Middle Eastern and Arabic music because I'd spent a long time in Jerusalem. So I really wanted to keep that music going. I've also always had a real love of jazz and very interested in jazz. So with this one, I think a lot of the stuff I've done since then has been more jazz based. And some of the compositions are obviously quite jazz based as well. So I really wanted to bring all those things together on one ensemble. So I suppose that was the concept between that, was just to bring all those things together in one group.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't want to say influences and all that stuff, but what it reminds me of, the tunes remind me, I was thinking of people like Jean-Luc Ponty and people like that this time, as opposed to your last release. So it's hard to describe, as I'm not a musician, but would you say more ethereal? Can't even say the word. Damn. Sometimes when you're in London, you struggle to say certain posh words. But I think you understand what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, Jean-Luc Ponty, I love his playing. I'm a great fan of his, and also Didier Lockwood, a great jazz violinist. I'm a great fan of his. So I guess there's a few swing tunes in there.
Yeah.
The first tune called Waltz for an Amethyst was actually influenced by Richard Galliano, the great accordion player. Mm-hmm. I'm a great fan of Bureli Le Guen as well, so there's a lot of that sort of vibe in there.
Yeah.
And I think tunes like How for Wine, which is a tune by Anwar Brahim, so a Tunisian oud player.
I got his vinyl sent to me a few months ago. It's
the Blue Rock Hams. Yeah, it's
great
gorgeous.
album.
It's a really lovely album.
Yeah. So okay.
But that's a tune by him. We actually recorded it on Via Maurice as well. But I did a very, very different version of it here. So that's on there. There's another North African tune. There's a Macedonian folk tune. So there's really quite. But they say that all of those musics are part of my things that I do and part of my musical life. So I just wanted to bring them all together.
Now, that comes on nicely to what I should ask next in that case, because how do you get all these influences of someone who's like based in this country?
Well, as I said before, I actually lived in Jerusalem for 10 years,
Okay.
so that kind of opens up different doors.
I mean, what did you have that in the back of your mind before you went to Jerusalem to explore that kind of music, or did it happen when you were there?
It was very much an accident. I was playing Schubert string trios in a bar one night, which was my last ever classical gig, and this very dubious looking character came up to me afterwards and said, "Do you want to play some Moroccan jazz?" And I sort of looked at him and I thought, I've got no idea what that is, and you look really dodgy. So obviously I went off with him after the gig and met this band, and it was a really good band. There were some fabulous musicians in it. It was a guy called Omar Avital, who's a great Israeli bass player, Henri Moore on keys, who played with Avishai Cohen's trio quite a lot. It's a really fun band, and we learnt a lot of this North African stuff called Shabi was the kind of core repertoire that we played. But obviously through that band I met a lot of musicians. There was an oud player in there, oud player called Nizar Rouhana, who I became very good friends with, and he taught me a lot of classical Arabic music, Egyptian stuff, also Turkish music, because he knew that very well. So there's so many different things going on in Jerusalem, because it's so so vibrant, and there's so many different cultural layers, that I just got totally involved with that scene while I was there.
Wow.
And they were all quite good jazz players as well, so kind of when we had a jam session, it would literally go from playing some classical Arabic stuff to something by Charlie Parker just completely fluently, and someone would just start playing ornithology or something, and then they'd finish it and someone would start playing Hirwadi or something else, and it was quite weird, but for me it was normal, because that's kind of how I got into all those kind of music, so I'm just sort of used to them being next to each other.
Wow. So I mean, because obviously there's different religions and everything that's going on, but are we saying that the music is there much difference between the music between the countries, say Turkish and parts of the Middle East?
No, there's very, very close links between Turkish and Arabic music, Greek music, right across North Africa. I think the Moroccan music has its own style, obviously. Turkish music also has its own style, because they use a slightly different tuning system from classical Arabic music. But there's a very, very common thread of a lot of the scales are common, even though they're tuned slightly different.
Right.
It's just a bit like talking English with a slightly different accent.
Yeah, sure.
And there's a lot of common concepts in improvisation as well. So yeah, there's really a lot in common.
Wow. So when did you sort of come back to this country?
2000. I think I moved back to London in 2009.
2000. So you've been back for
a little while now. Yeah. And when I came back, I wanted to carry on doing a lot of the same music, and that's what I had to work with. So that's what I did quite a while. But one of the new things I've done since I've come back that I never did in Jerusalem was quite a lot of gypsy jazz, because that's quite a big scene here. Which has been very interesting. It's been a lot of fun. And I've discovered, say, musicians like Borelli Legren, Richard Galliano, Jean-Luc Ponty, all those French musicians that I didn't really get to know while I was in Jerusalem so much.
Wow.
So yeah, that's kind of added to the pot.
No, indeed. I mean, is it quite easy or difficult to get gigs like that in London? Because it's something that's a bit different.
With gypsy jazz or with the cello?
Well, even either, I suppose.
I don't know really. I suppose it's the same for everyone. Like getting gigs is, as we all know, is a mission in itself. So I think I've kind of found my own niche and people that I like working with and that I get on well with. So I think I get enough gigs to be happy, to be honest.
Okay, so and obviously London is so big. There's enough venues that are doing different things.
Yeah, I mean they keep closing down at a slightly scary pace, and we would like them not to do that. But yeah, there are some really lovely venues doing the world music, doing gypsy jazz, doing a lot of different things. So yeah, if they could open a few more and start paying us properly, that would be good. But yeah, basically there's enough to go around. I think I'm not complaining on that front.
Okay, that's good.
I work pretty hard at it though.
Yeah, well, no, everyone does, don't they? Everyone does.
Yep, they certainly do.
What about festivals? Do you play in any festivals or anything like outdoor ones during the summer months?
Yeah, I've done a few festivals. We did a few festivals with Melange. I haven't done any with this album yet, obviously, because it's not out yet. It's just coming out. But I've played in Mulatu Skatke's band as well sometimes, the Ethiopian vibraphone player. So I've been doing a few festivals with them. There's another cellist called Danny Keane that does it regularly, and when he can't do it, quite often I play. I love that band, it's so much fun.
What band's that?
In Mulatu Skatke. He's an Ethiopian vibraphone player.
Wow.
So a really great band. So that's a lot of fun when I get to do that.
Mm.
And I play also in Nissy Barrett's Interchange Dectet project, so we did a few festivals last year with that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And you still have time to teach.
Yeah, I enjoy that as well, to be honest. The ensemble I've got this year, there's 30 students in it doing jazz and improvisation, so it kind of keeps me on my toes. But yeah, I really enjoy it, and I think I get as much out of teaching as I do out of performing, to be honest. They kind of feed off each other. So especially the kind of teaching I do, it's the sort of stuff I really enjoy.
Has there been any students you taught who have gone on to really good things so far?
Well, Jacob Collier, actually.
Jacob Collier.
I had in an improvisation class at the Royal College before he became an international superstar. And he was incredible even then. He was such a talent. And he just had his energy and just lit up the room. And I remember the first week he came in, and you're going around the students saying, "What do you all do?" "Well, miss, I've just got grade 8 singing, and I do this and I do that. I play a little bit of piano." And we put him on the piano, and he was all over it. But he was such good fun to teach, and he was great, obviously. And then he wanted to do jazz piano, and I thought, well, I mean, he's such a good pianist already, so I packed him off to Kit Downs for some lessons. and yeah, the rest is kind of history, I think. So Jacob, I guess, but I don't know if I could really count him as a student in that sense. Also, actually, there was a student of mine called Joseph Reynolds, who went off to Cambridge. Oxford. He went to Oxford, so he's doing really well.
It must be a really nice feeling when you see people, their careers flourishing or progressing.
Yeah, I guess I haven't been teaching a lot of them quite long enough for that to happen yet. It's been
but
a while,
still, I'm sure your influence is going to be felt. So you say you teach jazz and improvisation. Do you concentrate more on straight ahead jazz? What kind of jazz are we talking about?
It depends. I think with the City Ensemble, because it's jazz and improvisation, we concentrate on playing standards, because that's what a lot of them want to learn. They want to learn harmony, they want to learn how to get around changes, they want to learn how to read lead sheets, some of them as well, because if they're coming from a classical background, that's quite a new thing. Some of them are very good players already, but they haven't improvised, so sometimes we have to deal with that. I try and introduce them to some free improvisation. We do some improvisation on things like Bartok violin duos and trios, but it's quite nice for some of them to have something as a starting point at least, so I get them to play these little duos and then do their own thing. And I also teach them some of the Middle Eastern music that I know. We do that as a group, and they all learn it by ear completely, so it's quite a good ear training exercise. So I do quite a mixture of things with them, and I sort of try and talk about the common approaches and different approaches in improvisation that they might find and that they might need as professionals as well. And similar at the college, only I think there it tends to be more, they're smaller groups, so we tend to do perhaps more jazz standards. Again, because they're very curious about it, and that's what a lot of them want to learn.
Right.
But I do quite a mixture, because I think, first of all, that's something I will always like and value, and it's they are quite open courses. It's not specifically a jazz course, so I think it's quite nice for them to have a few options and to know what things are available to them.
Are we talking about like different instruments, or do they all play the same?
Oh no, I have all sorts of instruments. I had somebody playing jazz oboe last week in a class. He happened to be an oboe player, and we were learning Billy's Bounce, so he played it on the oboe. But again, I think that's quite a good thing, because it's something I wish I'd had more of when I was growing up. If you play the cello, you get a classical education, and that's it. And it's nice to know that you don't have to be limited to that. But if you don't get that opportunity presented to you and say, actually, you could do this, that, or the other, then you don't think of it. So it's nice. That's quite important.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking I can't think of too many well-known jazz cello players who are leaders.
It's not so common. It's another reason kind of why I wanted to do this album, because I did want to put the cello as a forefront instrument and not kind of a backing string instrument. There's a few people here, There's also the great cellist in the States called Jakob Szekely, who's fantastic. He's recorded a really nice album with trio. I think he's the main one that springs to mind. There's Mike Block. Who is that other guy I'm thinking of in the States? There seems to be mostly in the States and Germany, actually, to be honest. Stefan Braun in Germany is great as well. Again, he's kind of think more straight ahead jazz. But there's more and more people doing kind of exploring the potential of the instrument, so I think that's a really great thing. Obviously here there was Ben Davis, who's a great jazz cellist.
Yeah, I think in recent times more different instruments, instead of like just guitarists or even bass players or drummers or piano players, there has been more leaders in different fields now, hasn't there? Harps and...
Oh yeah, Lena, I can't pronounce her surname, but she's just... what is it? It's a beautiful...
You put me on the spot.
But her album's beautiful with Tony
yeah.
Coffey. I've heard that. It's lovely. And Tori Hansley also is a really good jazz harp player. She's great. I love that kind of approach to it. I love her stuff. And the violin has a long tradition of jazz behind it, especially in France. And actually, to be honest, I find it...
Billy Bang.
Yeah, Stuff Smith. There's a whole load of them. Obviously, there's Jean-Luc Ponty and DJ Lockwood as well. But I do find it quite weird here that the difference in reaction that people have to the violin and the cello, and kind of like, well, it's just basically the same thing, it's just a bit bigger. It's not really that. Well, I don't know. There's quite a few times when I've been in, people go, oh, cellos, didn't know you could do that on the cello. And I'm like, well, it's kind of the same thing as the violin. It's like just turn it that way round and play it an octave lower. So I find that a bit weird, but. Yeah, I don't really bother about it too much anymore. It's fine, like whatever.
Yeah, sure. I just wanted to ask one more question about your teaching, because you talked about the improvisation side. Do a lot of students go with open mind, or do they find it daunting to do their first improvisation?
That's a really good question. I think that depends. Like, if people have had some prior experience, or they've come from a jazz background, they're obviously very often a lot more comfortable with it. Quite often some of the classical players are totally and utterly fine. They take to it like a duck to water. Sometimes it's also not uncommon for people to come and be quite diffident about it or a little bit afraid. But most people, to be honest, once it's a bit like getting in a cold swimming pool, isn't it? Once you're in, it's fine. And most people are like that. You just have to kind of give them, sometimes you have to actually shove them into the swimming pool. But most people, I think, deal with it once they've got over that. And I think it's important for them to feel that there's a space where they can actually develop that as well without being criticised for not knowing how to do it or something. And I think it is a really, really important skill, and I do think it's not taught or not valued enough in classical education. That is a rant that I will have happily for many hours, and I think it's something that's gone out of classical performance. Like, all the great composers used to be great improvisers. Bach was known to be able to improvise a 4-part fugue, which if you think about it is actually quite scary. Beethoven could improvise, Brahms could improvise a sonata, and even in performance, improvising cadenzas was historically quite normal. And I don't quite know why it's gone out. I think maybe with people wanting to be more secure on stage, they've tended to not improvise. Perhaps that's to do with the development of the concert hall and things. But it's gone out of a lot of classical performance, but it's definitely an integral part of it.
I mean, could it be that they just decide, well, jazz, that's what jazz does, so we'll leave it to that side?
I think there's that attitude as well, but I think improvisation declined in classical performance. Maybe, I don't know if it was this concurrently with the development of jazz. I don't know if there's a relationship there, but certainly that's an attitude that you do find now, is that, improvisers. In fact, I've had people saying, I don't improvise, I don't play jazz, and I'm like, hang on, they're not necessarily the same thing.
No, of course.
So yeah, there are some quite weird misconceptions, I think, about both jazz and improvising, and about classical musicians from jazz musicians. That there's sometimes people have funny ideas about notation and people who can read music. It's kind of, well, that's just what they learn.
Oh well. So I mean, do you think?
Funny old world.
Do you think you someone who is trying to bridge the gap, or you're just trying to do what you're doing? Basically?
I don't know. I think I guess what I try to do when I'm teaching is help people see that all those things are really useful, and they're all useful skills as a musician. If you don't read, it doesn't mean you're not a good musician. I know so many really great musicians who can't read music at all, so it's not by any means a mark of a good musician. it's maybe a useful skill to learn. If it isn't, then don't bother. And the same for people that read notation. It's always a good thing to get away from it and not do, but it doesn't mean you're a less good musician because you can read music as well.
Yeah.
I think there's different skill sets and different traditions.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to have to bring out a dirty word here, I'm afraid.
Go on then.
Progressive rock.
I know sod all about progressive rock.
Well, you see, that's what they were trying to do back in the 70s,
Right.
weren't they? Maybe early 80s, because Emerson, Lake Palmer, and people like, because they were improvising on classical scales and stuff, weren't
I
they?
see what you mean. I
But,
don't know.
and it could appeal to jazz people.
Yeah,
suppose
I
like King
wouldn't
Crimson
like
and
to
people
try
like
and
that.
sound like I know what I'm talking about if I'm in
That's
that
right.
area.
I'm
I'm doing my best in the other areas, but
Yeah.
in this I really don't know what I'm talking about.
As Bill Bruford said once, it's a long time ago. He was a drummer in Yes.
Right.
Very well known jazz drummer. One of the best, but he retired.
Yeah, oh, shame.
Yeah, not many musicians retire.
No, a lot of musicians don't get that far.
Yeah, he retired. I saw him a few
Yeah.
times. Really nice guy. Okay, well that's great. So what I wanted to ask you before we wrap up is, so when does the CD actually get released?
We have an album launch on the 24th of October at the Vortex.
Okay.
That would be myself, with John, Demi and Nicholas Myers joining us for the launch. And it will actually be released, I think, at the beginning of December.
Beginning of December.
Yeah. We haven't firmed up an exact date with Paul yet, but it'll probably be about around the beginning of December.
Okay. And would you have a tour to go with it, or that's for not decided yet or anything like that?
That was something that will be organised later when I've got time to organise it.
Okay,
At the moment
fine.
I've got quite a lot of gigs on, so
Oh,
I
okay,
haven't got
that's
time
good.
to do it.
So
but
if
yes,
people want
hopefully.
to check out any old gigs, they could go on your website. What's your
Yes,
website?
my website is www.shirleysmart.com. It's easy to remember. The album launches the 24th of October, and we have got another gig on the 12th of December at Crazy Cox at Brasserie ZL in Leicester Square. So
Haven't
we've
they
got,
changed the name of it? Is it live at ZL now?
yeah, live at ZL. Yeah, it's the downstairs space. So
Yeah.
that's we've got another London date in December, so that'll be fun.
Yeah,
Looking
okay.
forward to that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, that's it from me then. So thanks for the interview with Jazz on the Radio.
Thank you for coming in again, Laurie. It's good to
Yeah,
see you.
thanks. And well, good luck with the release and enjoy
Thank you.
the album launch.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
The JLR interview series.